Hey, welcome to 1500ESPN.com. Derek Wetmore and Andrew Kramer at Winter Park, where we just witnessed the first part, anyway, of rookie minicamp. The 3-day event for the Vikings. Get a chance for Mike Zimmer to get his hands on some of the guys to show them whether it's film or plays on the field. They're breaking it down, basically, Andrew. Explain what exactly they hope to learn here in rookie minicamp, and also who's here, maybe more importantly, who's not here.
Yes, this is basically just 3 days for the rookies to come in, and undrafted free agents and their practice squad players from a year ago to come in and kind of get acclimated, get a foot in the door, and continue their progress, whether it's in the weight room or on the field. Now, there's just basically nobody else here, though, that was on the active roster last year. You don't have any specialists. You don't have any. Certainly, Adrian Peterson's not here. Not even Jeff Baca, a second-year guard, is showing up. So it's just reserved for the rookies and people to kind of get their feet wet. However, a few rookies aren't going to be here after this weekend, and they will miss most of OTAs. The Pac-12 has a quarter system, so those guys aren't even graduated yet. So guys like Anthony Barr, their first-round pick, their first overall pick in this draft, David Yankee, a guard out of Stanford, and then Scott Crichton, the D-end out of Oregon State. They all have to go back to school. They'll miss most of the OTAs that are actually at the end of the month in May and the beginning of June. And then I think they'll be able to be back here for the mandatory minicamp, which is actually that third week in June, because they graduate around June 15th, somewhere in there. But coaches do have plans. What they're going to end up doing is Skyping. Some coaches will actually fly out and visit position players that are out there, and they'll be able to get acquainted with them a little bit, watch film with them. However, NFL rules dictate that they can't actually be on the field with them. So if Adam Zimmer, the linebacker coach, goes and visits Anthony Barr out in UCLA, they can't go on a practice field together. Right. That's kind of a weird rule that they have. But what they can do is they can sit down, watch film, talk about things, and go over it like they were actually in a meeting room here.
Yeah, and Barr said, a lot of that's on me. A lot of it's up to me to ingest as much of this system and plays, terminology, weightlifting program, as much of that stuff as I can this
weekend. And they're already 2 weeks behind the 8 ball. The draft was pushed 2 weeks, and so they have 2 fewer weeks to get ready. And on top of that, they're going to miss the big portion here of May and June. So these 3 guys, and a big question of all this is Barr's only played 2 years of defense, and now he needs to ingest an entire defensive scheme in the NFL and get ready for that and get all the technique down. So it's going to be kind of a high-pressure situation for him, all while he's trying to earn his degree.
Yeah. He just mentioned that he's going to go back to UCLA, but this is his job now. He's focused on this, obviously. Zimmer said he's not concerned. I mean, of course he's not going to say that he's concerned, but he said that he doesn't see flaws in his game and in his technique comparative to somebody who's only played defense for 2 seasons. He thinks he's ahead of that curve. So that is good, but it is clear at this point that he is a project.
Clearly, and a lot of Vikings fans scratched their head when they saw this guy get picked 9th overall. They thought it was quite the reach, and understandably so. It's not like he was projected to be a top 10 pick by any means.
By media experts.
Yes, by media experts. But like you had said, Derek, the coaching staff doesn't necessarily see him as that raw of a player. They have acknowledged that he's got a lot to learn. But one point that could be made with that is that since he's so new to the position, you can kind of tell that he's just new to he's used to, being taught how to switch up things. Sure. So, for instance, he played fullback. He even played a little wide receiver in high school and early college. Switches again to linebacker, and now he needs to learn a whole new scheme in the NFL. That kind of thing, it's like teaching a new dog new tricks. He's not necessarily ingrained in knowing a way of doing things. Sure. You think about it, like quarterbacks. A lot of people talk about the quarterbacks and that, they have a certain arm motion that they have to get out of. It's bad. Well, with Barr, he's so new and raw in a sense that he doesn't have necessarily good habits yet, but he doesn't have bad habits. It's kind of a point. So it's one of those things with him where it's tough that he's going to be away with this, but he's got a ways to go.
The other perhaps interesting development for Vikings fans, Jerick McKinnon was here. I got a second to talk to him. Well, asked him to compare himself to some other player. A lot of people are looking at, the Darren Sproles Chargers. Yeah. He probably can't be LaDainian Tomlinson, but could he be a change of pace, Darren Sproles kind of guy? He said if there's one guy he's looking at in the NFL, he wants to be LaShawn McCoy. Clearly, there's a steep hill to climb to go from, mid-round draft pick to a LaShawn McCoy type of player. But if he could be LaShawn McCoy light and pick up pass blocks too, he could fit very well into Norv Turner's offense.
And he's got kind of a boulder in his way, and Adrian Peterson is kind of stopping the amount of carries he's going to be able to get in an offense like this. And they've got guys like Joe Banyard and Matt Asiata too, who are also gunning for that number 2 spot. But like I said, those guys aren't even here. Another note, David Yankee, the guard who's also going to be gone, finishing up school, he had said they've been working him a lot at left guard to start. Now it's early, but left guard's a spot where Charlie Johnson just signed a 2-year, $5 million deal, and that's maybe the only fluid spot on this offensive line. It wasn't that great last year, Charlie Johnson, so we'll see what ends up with that.
Maybe Yankee, a swing guy potentially.
Yeah, he could be exactly. They don't really have a swing tackle right now. They have Kevin Murphy, who's a guy, and Mike Remmers is also on the roster, but they don't have a set swing tackle, and last year they didn't either. They had to sign Jamarcus Webb from Chicago, and then they didn't re-sign him this year, so clearly that means they weren't happy with him. So they don't really have that kind of swing tackle option. Yankee played tackle at Stanford, so that could be a good spot for him to kind of fill in as a swing guy on the guard and tackle spot.
The other thing to look for in the next week or two, Zimmer said, he doesn't know this for sure because he doesn't work with the contracts, but you'd expect most of these guys to be signed in the next week or two.
They did sign. They have 3 of the 10 signed right now. Both of the cornerbacks, I believe Kendall James, Jabari Price, and then they have Yankee signed. So and McKinnon, like you had said that he expects it to be done in the next week or two. Expect that for all of them.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Also, a good spot to wrap up the video, Andrew. Thanks for your time. Out here at Winter Park, we'll keep updating you with rookie minicamp updates throughout the next 3 days. Follow Andrew Kramer and myself, Derek Wetmore, on Twitter. Any updates you might need, also check back to 1500ESPN.com. Thanks for watching.